When you think about major threats to global health, you might picture big, dramatic events. But some of the biggest threats are tiny. We're talking about mosquitoes, ticks, flies, even snails. They transmit diseases that are absolutely devastating. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the global plan to fight back against these tiny but incredibly deadly vectors.
Let's just start with a number that'll really make you think. 17%. That's the share of all communicable diseases worldwide that are caused by these vectors. It's not a small fraction. It's a massive piece of the pie, which shows you just how widespread this problem really is.
And behind that number, there's a staggering human cost. We're talking about more than 700,000 lives lost every single year. And this burden isn't spread out evenly. Nope. It hits the world's most vulnerable communities the hardest, especially in tropical and subtropical regions.
And the fallout goes way beyond just health. Think about it. When people are sick, they can't work. That's a huge loss in productivity. Healthcare systems get pushed to their limits. Industries like tourism and agriculture can take a massive hit. These diseases can literally trap communities in a cycle of poverty, holding entire nations back.
Right, so a problem on this scale, it's just not something one country or organization can solve on its own. It absolutely demands a coordinated, strategic, and global response.
And that's where the World Health Organization comes in. They've developed something called the Global Vector Control Response, or GVCR for short. You can think of it as the world's game plan, a really comprehensive strategy that runs from 2017 all the way to 2030, designed to tackle this challenge head-on.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the big goals of the 2030 Action Plan. Then, we'll get into the 4 key pillars of the strategy. After that, we'll explore the cutting-edge science and innovation that's driving this. And finally, we'll talk about why collaboration is absolutely essential to making it all work. All right, first things first, the big picture. Any good plan needs a clear vision and, just as importantly, some very clear, measurable goals. So what exactly is the GVCR shooting for by 2030? The vision itself is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. A world that's free of human suffering from these diseases. It's a huge ambition for sure, but it's the guiding light for this entire global effort. And to turn that vision into a reality, the plan has some really specific targets. So using 2016 as the starting point, the goal by 2030 is to slash the death rate by at least 75%, and to cut the number of new cases, what scientists call case incidents, by at least 60%. The ultimate goal? To get to a point where we can prevent epidemics in every country. These are definitely ambitious targets, but they show just how seriously the world is taking this. Okay, so we've got the goals, but how in the world do we actually get there? Well, the whole strategy is built on 4 core pillars of action. These create the framework that countries can use to get things done. And here they are. The first is all about getting different sectors to work together. So health, environment, urban planning, you name it, all on the same page. The second is about getting communities involved. Third is beefing up surveillance, using data and even predictive models to see outbreaks coming. And fourth is taking the best tools we have and using them on a massive scale. The key thing is, they all have to work in concert. Now, all 4 of these are critical, but let's talk about Pillar 2 for a second. See, long-term success isn't just about experts handing down solutions from on high. It really depends on tapping into local knowledge and empowering communities to take ownership of protecting themselves.
And to really see what this looks like in the real world, let's head over to Yogyakarta, Indonesia. There, the World Mosquito Program ran a totally groundbreaking trial for dengue fever that put community engagement right at the center of a brilliant scientific idea.
So the science here is it's so cool. They used a type of bacteria that's found in nature called Wolbachia. Now, when mosquitoes have this specific bacteria, it basically acts like a biological shield, making it much harder for them to pass on viruses like dengue. The idea was to release mosquitoes with Wolbachia so they could breed and create a self-sustaining dengue-resistant mosquito population. So did it work? Oh yeah, the results were absolutely spectacular. The trial, which only worked because of tons of community support and acceptance, saw a 77% drop in dengue cases in the treated areas. It's just a perfect example of Pillar 2, community engagement, and Pillar 4, using new tools, working hand in hand to get incredible results. That amazing success story in Indonesia leads us right into our next section, the constant, non-stop need for research and innovation to create new and better ways to fight these diseases.
You can think of research as the engine driving this whole response. On one hand, you have basic research that helps us understand the vectors themselves, how they live, how they behave.
Then you have applied research, which helps us create and deploy interventions more effectively. All of this evidence is what informs everything from top-level policy to what happens on the ground.
But here's a huge challenge we're up against. The vectors, especially mosquitoes, are smart. They're evolving, developing resistance to the insecticides we've been using for decades. So, what's next? How can new technology help us stay one step ahead?
Well, one of the most exciting new frontiers is something called gene drive technology. This is truly cutting-edge stuff. It uses genetic engineering to basically force a specific gene to spread through a population. So in this case, scientists could introduce a gene that makes mosquitoes unable to transmit malaria, for example. It allows for this incredibly precise targeting to suppress disease-carrying mosquito populations, and it could be a powerful new weapon in our arsenal.
So we've got the goals, we've got the 4 strategic pillars, and we've got the innovation engine. But none of that means a thing if it's all happening in a bubble. The final and arguably most crucial piece of the puzzle is the human side of things, the political and social systems that make success possible.
The GVCR lays out 3 things that are absolutely essential to creating the right environment for success. First, you need strong leadership and political commitment within each country. Second, you need everyone working together to raise money and coordinate efforts. And third, you need the right laws and policies in place to support the work. These are the foundations that allow those 4 pillars to actually stand tall.
And this quote right here from someone in the Wolbachia program just brings it all home. Because behind all the high-level strategies, all the pillars, and all the policy frameworks, success really boils down to people. It's about a community member feeling a sense of pride, a sense of honor in protecting their own community. That's the human element that fuels this entire mission.
So the plan is there. The science is moving at an incredible pace. The goals, while ambitious, are within our reach. The GVCR is the roadmap to a world with so much less suffering from these diseases. But you know, a roadmap is only good if you actually follow it. The real question is whether the global community can find the sustained collaboration, the political will, and that grassroots spirit to see this vision become a reality by 2030.